Hi, everyone. It's SS Coulter. It's that time in our week again to slow down and bring some joy back into our lives. Today, we're going to talk about how burnout quietly shows up in our lives and how shifting our mindset and setting healthy boundaries can help us feel more like ourselves again. And with that, let there be joy.
Welcome to Let There Be Joy, where SS Coulter talks with experts who share three simple, practical ideas you can actually use to help build a life you don't want to escape from.
Welcome to this week's episode of Let There Be Joy. My personal journey as a mom was the accelerated route. And what I mean by that is that I'm a bonus mom and my kids came prepackaged at 4, 8, and 10. Because of that, I am a young mom. Now, I am not saying I am young at all, but I am young to have a 22, 26, and 28-year-old. That would mean I had to start having kids at 21. And I'm actually pushing women, like, have kids as young as you can, because parenthood is not a young man's sport. It is exhausting. While it is absolutely wonderful and the best thing you can do, it is exhausting. But saying that, even with a 22, 26, and 28-year-old, I'm not out of the woods. You never are. I'm still being parented, and I'm certainly still parenting. It's going to happen the rest of my life. So no matter where you are, if you have youngins or young adults, you need to take a breath. So many moms carry more than we realize. We get so used to pushing through, taking care of everyone else, and just trying to keep everything moving that we stop noticing how exhausted we actually are. And burnout doesn't always look dramatic. It just looks like feeling disconnected from yourself little by little by little over time. That's why today's conversation is going to be so refreshing and healing for us. I'm excited to have Chari Twitty-Hawkins with us today. I'm going to give you her bio, and then we'll get right into her tip. Chari Twitty-Hawkins, first off, is one of the most fun names to say, so immediately we have joy in the show. But she is a certified transformational trainer and spiritual life coach who helps moms prioritize self-care, self-awareness, and self-compassion so they can thrive in both motherhood and everyday life. She is also an inspirational speaker, poet, best-selling author, and a woman deeply passionate about helping women of faith rediscover themselves while caring for the people they love. What I really appreciate about her work is that she helps women recognize that taking care of ourselves is not selfish. It's actually necessary if you want to show up fully for the people around you. Chari is a praying mother and wife from Texas, and I'm happy to welcome her to the show. Hello, Chari. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So before we get into your tips, I just want to point out for the people watching, look at this woman. She has peacocked herself out because I told her I wanted to wear my peacock brooch today, and she showed up. We are so fancy right now. Like, that could just be the end of the show. She's got these peacock earrings on, this peacock shirt. She just looks gorgeous. So I'm very excited. Thank you for going along with my fanciness. It makes me so happy. It's awesome.
My pleasure.
Immediately awesome. We're just going to get right into your tips because I really want people to soak in everything you have to offer. The first thing that you sent over was to recognize how burnout is showing up in your life. Can you tell us more about that?
I wanted that to be the first tip because I don't know if you guys are on TikTok, but I'm big on TikTok. And I once did a series about mom burnout. And in each video, I saw mom say, I didn't even know this was a thing. Like there was a term for this. And I said, whoa, because, often we go through it, but we're just like, oh, this is motherhood. Nobody understands. But mom burnout is a thing, just like workplace burnout. I've done a workshop with my husband on workplace burnout. And I'm like, if they're going through this at work, surely they're going through it at home as a mom, because, I'm a mom. But mom burnout is the emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion from the chronic stress of motherhood. So, not if you're stressed sometimes, but if it's chronic and if you feel like you're exhausted, and that can show up in different ways. Like maybe you're like, I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep, but I'm still frustrated. I'm still like, I'm still tired all the time. I don't know why. It could be, you kind of mentioned this earlier, disassociating. So disconnecting from your family. I talk about how motherhood, we're in our tunnel zone and we're going, going, going. But sometimes in that we disassociate to survive. And I kind of think about that, how like people go through trauma and they're like, I still have to go through my day to day. So how am I going to survive? We kind of do that in a way in motherhood. It could be you're easily touched out, and with that comes mom guilt, where you're like, you really don't want your kids to touch you because your nervous system is shot. And you're like, I love my kids. Why do I feel this way though? It could be you're taking your anger out on them. So you're not able to process, like I said, it's the emotional and mental exhaustion. Maybe your kid will come and play around you and grab on you and yell. And like I said, you're that touched out. So you're like, okay, stop touching me. And then you're like, why are you so loud? When normally, when you weren't going through the burnout and you were able to process, you're like, ha ha, okay, mommy's busy right now, go play. But now you're getting angry quickly. You're snapping at those you love and you're triggered easily because you're not, again, your nervous system is shot and you're not able to process what you normally would. And that's just a few things, y'all.
It's 100% true. So, one thing that I do all the time, if I get snappy like that, I ask myself if I'm hungry or tired. We're all, I mean, think about how your kids are when you're hungry or tired. We're the same
Mhm,
way. It was really interesting to me that you said that people don't recognize that burnout is a thing. Can you
mhm.
tell us the type of stuff that you're posting on TikTok that ladies are going, "Oh, wait a minute, that's actually happening to me." Are they the things you were just saying, or is it more than that? Because I'm wondering if people are just going through life and being like, "Motherhood is exhausting, so I just have to deal with this." Is that kind of what you're saying, or is it deeper than that?
It's some of the things I said, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm easily triggered." Some are like, they didn't even know the term triggered. But yes, this is a thing when you're touched out and you don't want your kids to touch you, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's what it is."
What does touched out mean?
You don't want people touching you.
How does that come about? Is that the kids have been grabbing on you all day, or is it because you're tired? Like, what brings you to the point where, like, nobody touch me?
It can be a lot of things. It may not have anything to do with the kids. It could be your husband wants, I've seen TikToks about that where, he comes home and, he wants to love on you and you're like, "No, I'm frustrated. I've been dealing with these kids. I've been dealing with work. I've been dealing with it." Like I said, it may have nothing to do with the kids, but you're just
Okay.
overwhelmed and you're like, "Leave me alone."
That's like a response that your body's putting together to protect you.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I
it's your
understand
body
more.
And it's your body telling you something's wrong, but we often just push through it.
And we just think we're being a cranky person, and then we get
Mhm.
guilty, and then it's this downward spiral, and then we can't sleep because our brain is going about how bad of a mom we are and how bad of a wife, and oh,
Yep.
wonderful. Okay, so the first step in this process of self-care is recognizing that burnout is actually a thing. It's not a way of life. It's actually something that you can take care of. You don't have to live day by day, touched out, exhausted, snappy. So if we
Mhm.
can say, like I was saying before, like, I'm hungry and tired, I'm touched out. If we can like actually recognize those things, then we can move on to something to do about it. Okay, that's really good because you're saying a lot of women are walking around not realizing that they're actually burnt out. That's incredible to me. Is it because we think we just have to be superwomen or what? Why do you think we don't recognize that?
Yes, that's it. That's it. Because we saw those who came before us doing the same thing, but we don't realize that they were suffering in silence. I say sometimes they were suffering to sickness, and then hopefully we're doing better this generation. But for those, at least I know who raised me, and in the African American community, they don't want to tell you that something's wrong until it's almost too late.
Moms and grandmas, tough
Mhm.
ladies, and we can learn something from that. But then there's that shift of like, hey, it's okay to say that I need a break and be vulnerable. But also on top of it, we have all this technology and social media. And to me personally, we're not supposed to know this much about each other. Like watching everything that everybody does and judging and comparing, that I think just adds to it as well. I'm hoping we get back to like neighborly friendships and caring for each other. That's a different episode, but I think that adds to it totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've recognized burnout and we've given it a name, your second tip is shift your mindset. So can you go into that for us?
So, what causes a lot of moms to go through mom burnout? We kind of just talked about it, is our mindset, our thoughts about motherhood and about ourselves as women, even about ourselves as little girls. So you may think, hey, my mom, my aunt, my grandma, they did all the things and I admire them for that. So I have to do all the things or try to because we really can't, y'all. We really can't. It could be you're thinking, I'm not a good enough mom if I don't do all the things. Or rest is a reward. That's something I hear often. It can be a reward, but that should not be the standard.
When you say rest is a reward, rest, I'm thinking what you're saying is rest is something that should just be a daily thing.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Yes. So what does that look
Mhm.
like?
There's different types of rest. There's this book, it's called Sacred Rest, and it talks about different types of rest. You have spiritual rest, your physical rest when you lay down and you go to sleep. It kind of reminds me when I think about physical rest. When I first had my twins, I was like, "Ooh, when am I gonna sleep?" And sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I will lay down, but I can't sleep. And so a lot of moms will be like, "Okay, I'm not gonna sleep. Let me jump up." No, lay down and allow your body to rest. Even if, you're just staring at the wall, allow your body to reset itself. But rest looks like different things, taking time with God. It could be, I don't know about y'all, but music is my ministry, so listening to some worship music, if I'm overwhelmed and stressed and I listen to some whether it's upbeat or relaxing gospel music, it brings rest to my soul, like, seriously. So, it could
100%.
Mhm.
Thank you for saying that. That's really true because it just takes the worry out of you. And I think a lot of times we can't rest because I have to fold laundry or I've got to make this phone call or I've got to pay this bill. And then your brain's like, "Dit."
Yep.
But that worship music just gets you in a place of rest. I
Mhm.
mean, God said, "Be still and know that I am God." So it's a mindset shift. It sounds like a lot of us, and I know it's something I have to work on all the time, are comparing ourselves to everybody. And we talked about that with the burnout and thinking I have to do everything. Does everybody do everything? Does anybody do everything?
No,
No.
no. We just that that makes me think about this cycle that we often go through in motherhood where it's like I'm trying to do everything or trying to be the perfect mom and then I fail and then I feel bad about it. And then I try again. So it's a cycle and you never get out of that cycle until you realize you are already worthy. God created you for this. You're already an amazing mom. That's another one of those mindset things we have where you're like, if I do all the things, then I'm a good mom. I'm a good person. You're already worthy. Just like you would say to your children, you don't want them trying to prove that they're good or a good child to you and they're constantly failing. And you don't want that for them. So God doesn't want that for you either.
In the past, it's starting to shift out of that, but it was multitasking was the thing to do. Now,
Mm,
moms are always multitasking. It's just what we do. But it's really not good for you because it's actually mental fragmentation because you're not fully concentrating on anything. And I think that is a huge mindset shift that we can create for ourselves. Like right now, I'm just doing this.
mhm.
And then right now, I'm just doing this. And I'll go back to what I said. There's sometimes you have to multitask. It would be silly for me to just say that you don't have to. But if you can do one thing at a time, that's going to calm your brain down too. And I think make it easier to rest.
True. Hmm.
So I think that's almost a cultural shift because everyone's like, oh, women can multitask. And it's like, yeah, we can, but should we?
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Doesn't mean you should. And I had another guest on the show, Heather, and she gave, I just want to repeat this tip because I think Jerry, you'll love it too. She said, try not to do two things if you don't have to. So if you're doing the dishes, you may think that you want to listen to a podcast at the same time. Don't. She said, just do the dishes. Just be with that. And I thought that was just so amazing. So I went to get a pedicure the other day, and I do usually listen to a podcast during it.
Mm,
And I had just interviewed her. So I was like, okay. And I do listen to the podcast because I'm trying to fill myself up with all this information. And I was like, I'm going to take that advice. So I had the pedicure and
mhm.
I didn't listen to the podcast and I just sat there and I heard the calming spa music. It was a completely different experience for me. I actually
Right.
rested.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
that's part of it. It was really cool. So we're going to take a quick break and be right back. Bring joy back to your kids' day with Planet Fasa. Character building books, daily games, free screenlight activities, coloring pages, and more. Visit the Planet Fasa at sscoulter.com. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. We are here with the beautiful and fancy Chari, and she is giving us wonderful tips for moms. And her third tip is to set clear boundaries. So tell us what that looks like.
This is part of your self-care, is saying these are limits that I'm putting on my life, not necessarily on somebody else, but on your own. So I often talk about self-care. I have a pie chart of self-care and what it looks like because we often think it's only spa days and bubble baths, which it is, but that's only one part.
Those are few and far between.
Right, right. So you need to do things in between to sustain you. And so boundaries can be spiritual, mental, emotional, relational, environmental, all types of things. So saying to yourself, in those specific areas, what are things that I need to work on limiting or maybe doing more of? Your limit can be less or it can be more than what you do now. Because if you don't spend time with God, then you need to start saying, okay, I need to start filling my spiritual cup. And how am I going to start doing that? So if you're used to saying yes to everything, then saying, okay, where do I need to say no? Because, like we talked about, you don't need to do everything.
I think one of the reasons we feel like we need to do everything is because we feel like some other mom is also going to judge us. So we're comparing ourselves to what we think everybody else is doing. We have no
Mhm.
actual idea because social media is the highlight reel of people's lives. But also, we think someone's going to judge us
Mhm.
if we're not doing it. And let's be honest, we're not supposed to judge anybody. And if you have someone in your life who you think's constantly judging you, that might be a boundary to set on a relationship.
Mhm. Or
I
with
mean,
yourself.
or
Or
with
with
yourself.
yourself. Mhm.
Yeah, can you explain that? Because what I really liked about what you said there is you set clear boundaries, and we usually hear boundaries on other people, but you clearly said it's boundaries for yourself. So, if you are dealing with that person, that frenemy who you feel like is judging you all the time, how do you set a boundary with that person that's not on the person that's about you?
That's why I say self-care is holistic because you have to put in the work. You have to say to yourself, "Okay, I have these issues. I don't think that I'm enough." And I feel like maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your sister, maybe it's a friend, I don't know who's gonna judge you. You have to say to yourself, the boundary I'm going to set is I'm not gonna let what they think change how I feel about myself. And that means you're gonna have to do the work to be like, okay, I'm okay with being this way, or I'm okay with raising my children this way. And it takes work, but that's a boundary you set with yourself.
It's being like you said before, you are worthy
Mhm.
and you are loved and you're doing the best that you know how to do. And
Yeah.
it's probably absolutely wonderful. And being
Right.
okay with that. That
Mhm.
is great. Okay, so that is a relational one. We got the spiritual one. If you're not filling your cup, do that. And I think the best time to do that, and this is just for me personally, everybody has different days. But for me personally, when I can do that in the morning, it sets the rest of the day for me
Mhm.
because I know that I'm loved and worthy. What would be a physical boundary?
Physical boundary. And I'm going to say this because I just interviewed somebody about food freedom. I'm not going to eat when I'm stressed because I asked her, what is a scripture you would give someone or have them meditate on if they were dealing with overeating? And she said, you know what? We want to get to the root of it. Then I was like, yes, that's exactly it. So saying to yourself, I'm not going to eat when I'm stressed. I'm going to pray. I'm going to walk. I'm going to deal with whatever it is because we deflect and go to eating.
We go to eating, we go to drinking, we go to all
Yep.
sorts of things, shopping.
Mhm.
So why am I wanting to do that? Because if you can nip that in the bud, that's everything.
Yep.
Bring up one more because you said it, an emotional boundary you can set.
Honoring your emotions instead of pushing them down, saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna worry about that. I don't have time to deal with that." But saying, "I'm gonna honor my emotions." So if you're feeling sad, and we know motherhood is busy, so you may be feeling sad, but you gotta go pick up the kids, but saying to yourself, at least in your mind, "I'm gonna take time tonight and cry," or "I'm gonna take time tonight and" this is where to connect and pray and give it to God. "I'm gonna take time tonight and journal," Or if you need to express something, and this is relational as well to connecting. If I need to, this is for me, if I need to speak to my husband about something that's been bothering me, I'm going to do that, honoring your emotions.
The Bible says, allow yourself to be angry, but don't allow it to lead you to sin.
Mhm.
And I think we're hearing that in all these things. Allow yourself to be sad, but don't allow it to lead you to sin. I'm adding to it. I love this honoring your emotions. We just went through a huge move, and I wasn't good at honoring my emotions before, and I started to. It was our last family home, so it was emotional.
Yeah.
And I would be walking around, moving, and I would just start crying, and I would let it happen, and it made it so much easier to get through. And I wasn't a basket case. I am not promoting being a basket case. It was if I let it out, it was out in a minute or two. I told my
Mhm.
husband one time, "I need a hug. This is really hard." He hugged me. I was better. And then
Yeah.
on the anger side, I happen to go to anger a lot. It's just one of my I don't like crying, so I'm like, "I'm gonna be angry." It's just
Mhm.
and the other day, I was very upset about something, and I was trying to push it down, trying to push it down, and I said, "Jesus, you know I get angry. So right now, I'm just really angry. I'm just gonna sit in it, and I'm gonna let it be, but I won't let it allow me to sin." And I sat in my anger, and I dealt with it, and I got through it.
I
And it was
love
not
that.
pushing it down, right? But
Mhm.
I said to our Savior, I'm like, "You know me. You know how you built me. Right now, I'm mad.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna stop around the house. I'm gonna hand it to you and tell you about it, and not go after the person I'm mad at." So excellent. I'm going to go ahead and try to recap what we just went through. So the first tip that Cherry shared with us is to recognize how burnout is showing up in your life. And I think the most interesting thing that you pointed out is that as women, as moms, we don't even realize it's burnout. We thought this is just the way being a mom is.
Mhm.
So it's understanding that when that stuff happens, it's like, hey, this isn't normal. This is burnout. What do I need to do about it? And then tip number two is shift your mindset. And that is thoughts about ourselves as a mother, a woman, a little girl, and watching how we're comparing ourselves to our mom, our grandma, our friends, and recognizing that they didn't do everything and we don't have to do everything. And that rest is not a reward. It's a daily habit. And
Mhm.
it's as simple as laying down for 10 minutes and putting on worship music and just giving your mind and yourself a break. And
Yeah.
then tip 3, set clear boundaries, and this was really impactful to me. It's not necessarily limits on others. It's limits on your own life in a really healthy way. You said spiritual, physical, environmental, emotional, relational, and that you mention all those things because self care is extremely holistic.
Mhm.
And at the end of all this, what I'm hearing is this is a work on me so that I'm showing up the best for my kids, for my husband, and for the world.
Right.
Excellent. Thank
Mm.
you so much for that. I want people to be able to find you. So, can you tell us where they can find you on TikTok and everywhere else?
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at CIC Inspire Me. I also recently joined Threads. So you can find me on Facebook. If you search my name, it'll come up.
We will put all these links in the show notes and on your Joy PDF. So they'll be able to find you and get help. Do you coach people or how do you help people? Is it speaking? What is your main thing that you do with people?
I do coach. I coach moms and I also speak. As you stated before, I'm a transformational speaker. So I do both.
Wonderful. For a summary of Cherry's tips and insights from today, you can find today's Joy PDF at sscoulter.com/joy. If this episode gave you something to think about, sparked an idea, you try something and it changes your life, I want to hear about it. I want to hear from you. Please send me a voice memo on Telegram at sscoulter. And if you have ever felt overwhelmed or burnt out, ever, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who could use a little joy in their life. Next episode, we'll be talking about habits, confidence, and creating lasting change. So I hope you will join us. I'm going to go back to Cherry for the end here and just ask her for some final words of wisdom for the listeners who want to bring a little bit of joy back into their lives.
Your joy is found in Christ. So no matter your circumstances, because motherhood can get crazy, that's just the reality. But true joy comes from you having that joy inside of you, no matter what is going on around you. So know that again, you are worthy, you are enough. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what you're telling yourself. You are enough. You are beautiful. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. So find that joy. sustain that joy and show yourself grace, because getting out of burnout, it took time for you to get in it. So it's going to take time for you to get out. So just step by step, day by day, moment by moment, do what it is you need to do for you and show yourself grace when you mess up, because God is showing you grace as well.
Thank you, Chari. Thank you for your wisdom and your love. I really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
being here today. And for everyone listening, remember that you are truly loved. You have a beautiful purpose in this life. And this is the day the Lord has made. So let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let there be joy. Bye for now.
What is Jesus's favorite lunch? Wonder Bread with Miracle Whip.